Do you think that that men care about body count?
I think some of them do.
Yeah. Would you?
No.
No, you wouldn't care?
I wouldn't.
If she had 20,000 guys?
If I loved her, I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care? 30?
There's no number. If I love somebody, I'll care. I don't care.
Yeah. What if she had 20 guys at once?
Do you think that's going to change my answer?
I'm just curious.
I've already answered it. If I cared about somebody, I don't care.
No matter what?
Correct. As long as I don't have an STD, I don't care.
Do you think it's a legitimate preference that men have that they don't want women with high body counts?
I think any preference is legitimate. If somebody has a preference, they have a preference.
Okay.
So what?
So do you think that that's a legitimate preference?
Sure. I said any preference is legitimate. Remember when I said that?
And then what do you think most men would consider a high body count to be?
I have no clue.
Okay. What do you think? Let's stop there. What do you think most men would consider a high body count to be? Again, he's afraid to say it. He's afraid to say the number. I'll tell you, anything beyond 10 is guys are going to be like, that's high. Okay. When you get past the the two hands, it's high. Okay. I'll say that. I'll answer for him because he seems to have a hard time answering objective questions himself. High, nasty. Okay. Truthfully, 10 finger. I don't care how old they are either. Okay. So he's asked, the male feminist is asked, do you care about body count? No. Some guys do, but not me. And Andrew, particularly picks out these very high numbers, right? 20,000. He's not saying 11, right? For a reason, because he wants to make a point here. 20,000, 30,000. No, I don't care. If I love her, I don't care. If I love her, if I care about her, I don't care. That is not reflective. First of all, that is not reflective of how most men feel. That's a dishonest. That if you've decided as a man, by the way, that you don't care about body count, if you've made that decision and you know how I say sometimes with women that if they can sleep around, something's dead inside of them. Well, if you are a man and you have decided that a woman with a 20,000 or 30,000 body count, it doesn't matter to you. There's something dead inside of you as a man. You have lost touch with your masculinity in the same way that the woman that sleeps around has lost touch with her femininity, because men intrinsically care about this. They intrinsically, biologically care about body count. And why is that? Because if a woman's body count is high, they envision, well, she's, more likely to be the type of girl to sleep around. And that becomes dangerous for them because women can get pregnant. And is she going to have, get pregnant with somebody else's kid? There's a whole mental thing that happens with men. Also, it's nasty because a trait of being feminine is respecting your body. A trait of being feminine is not being promiscuous. True feminine, I'm talking a woman who's in her true feminine would have a hard time sleeping with men and not catching the feelings, right? So this is the reason that I showed this is because we often talk about women who've been inculcated with feminism, women. And I need you to hear that this is a disease that has now begun to affect men. And there are a ton of male feminists out there, right? There are a ton of them who have left their masculinity at the door, who have checked that. They've bought into the toxic masculinity storyline, right? They believe that their masculinity is toxic. They believe that male as head of household is toxic. They believe that, they should and must embrace a female career climb, that they should and must embrace, this equality of outcomes, essentially. So I'm pointing out what this male feminist looks like for a reason, because you will meet guys that will defend all of these things. And those are guys who have lost touch with their masculinity. Those are guys who have bought the storyline. It's not just women that have been brainwashed in this society. It's not just women that have bought the talking points. Men have bought the talking points too. And they feel that they get married, they have to support a woman who works. They can't say, well, is that really in the best interest of the children? Is that really in the best interest of the household? How's this going to work? Do I want to delegate this to a nanny? They don't feel that they can vocalize that. And they also don't even feel that they can think it, because they feel that just by thinking it, they're being misogynistic. They feel that any sort of instinctual feeling they would have in that direction is their toxic masculinity that has to be beaten out of them because society told them it was bad, right? The ladies on The View said it wasn't good and they ate it. Right? And they all start to sound very feminine because they're echoing feminist female talking points, right? That's what they're echoing. Media is run by women, right? They're echoing all of that stuff. And it's kind of like a dissonance when you hear it coming from them. Like, aren't you the guy? Aren't you supposed to be standing up for what's right and what is right? We're not even saying, no one's talking about objectification. No one's talking about subjugation. You're talking about guys following their natural biological path and women following their natural biological path, and men and women being different and needing different things and flourishing when different paths are followed. This should be a very natural conversation. And it's just very interesting to see the juxtaposition of energy as well, because Andrew Wilson comes off as a guy. He's got masculine energy, right? And what does that mean? Grounded in facts, wanting examples, getting specific. You can see it, right? It's masculine energy. I'm not saying you have to agree with everything he says, but his energy is objectively masculine. And he's sitting across from this guy who's just bleeding feminine energy. No specifics, subjective, sort of an emotional energy, right? What happened to this guy? Well, his masculinity got beaten out of him in the same way that the femininity is getting beaten out of these women, right? And this is a perfect example of what's happening to society when we talk about these unions, that then you've got a feminized guy and you've got a masculinized woman and you've got a disaster waiting to happen. Man alive. Imagine me with that guy, talking to that guy. And maybe that's what needs to happen, right? But you know what would happen? He's so feminized, I would be reading as masculine, right? He's so feminized. He is, it's just like, right? Even his, no, well, that's not true. No, well, that's not, what set up! Man alive. Okay, so that's just a taste of that conversation.